Hey, 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 you too. It is your girl Duchess here to talk about love and marriage Huntsville. So, which one of you, wait a minute, I'm not even saying that right. Which one of these faces are you? How y'all doing on this Friday? I could not decide if I was going to do this today or Sunday. So I'm like, just rip the band aid off and let's get into Love and Marriage Huntsville, y'all. Are they going to survive? Child, it's a lot. It is a lot. So, um, it's your girl Duchess. I'm just here to help. I know there's a lot going on in those YouTube streets with Love and Marriage Huntsville and all the drama. I kind of want to stay away from it as much as possible. And I am just basing my commentary on what they give us on their screens, and we'll just go from there because nobody's perfect. It's so many flaws. The human experience is flawed in itself. So, um, you know, no one is perfect. And it's always a journey for sure. So, um, these people, as far as I'm concerned, they are my brothers and my sisters in Christ. That includes Carlos King, Melody Cherie, Destiny, Stormy Steele, and all the people in between. So um, that's kind of the temperament that I want to have as we get into this show. I can't even say the episode, but as we get into this show, that's kind of the temperament that I want to share as we discuss, kind of take some deep dives and things. So, yeah, um, yeah, I'm honored to be in this space with you. I am honored to bring my commentary to this platform. It is not easy, y'all. I mean, shout out to every YouTuber that picks up a mic and get into this space because I feel like I'm on a stage at a comedy show and I'm about to bomb. But let's get into it. So, I have three factors that we can consider that you really can consider across any area in your life. I'm using it to discuss Love and Marriage Huntsville. So, one is Threshold. I feel like this show is, well, I'm kind of undecided. Are they on the threshold or are they in the configuration, configurations phase? So, you're going to hear these papers, child, because I still hadn't got my note situation down, but I think they're entering kind of like their threshold season because that is when you start to experience something that sparks a change. Things start to happen that feel uncomfortable. Um, and you got to figure out which way to go. You have to figure out your next steps. Like when you're on that threshold, it's obvious that the next step cannot be like the previous one, you know? And this show gives us so many rich experiences in that space. You had Melody and her marriage, um, some of the friendships, some of the businesses, and I mean, we meet that threshold in all types of experiences in our life. So I'm kind of undecided if that's the space that they're in, but it is a good lens to look through, especially when things get to be uncomfortable. Their ratings are down. I mean, we haven't even seen the ratings for this week, right? They are fluctuating, but I mean, they're not at that 500, whatever thousand mark. And there's a ways to get to even get to that space. So this show is in danger of being canceled, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of viewers. Um, and in the opinion of a lot of viewers, it needs to be canceled because it's so hard to look at. But I'm not quite there yet for me. So I'm probably in the threshold space with Love and Marriage Huntsville. And the reason why I'm not quite there yet is, again, there is not a single being other than Jesus Christ who was absolutely perfect. And he was still found to be flawed and crucified, right? So, and it's ironic that he was mentioned in this episode, and I'm not gonna like go down a whole preacher rabbit hole there, but it's just kind of a way for me to put things into perspective, especially when I'm dealing with very difficult spaces, right? So nothing is perfect. And I think that there are some great examples of the ugly truth of the human experience that can be gleaned from. And the threshold space is a powerful space because you can't go backwards. You can only go forward. And if you can make that configuration, which is the next step, if you can make that leap, the transformation can be beautiful, right? Um, and so that's kind of, you know, I won't say my talking points, but that's the way that I'm looking at Love and Marriage Huntsville. I can say that I will tune in for whatever the, next finale, not so finale. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with this show. Um, mid season, I think they've already had that, and I was surprised to see that there was more to come. But kind of that's just kind of the lens that I'm looking at. And again, I'm being very neutral. I know that there is a lot to be said from the top to the bottom, but at the end of the day, nobody is perfect. So I'm here to help and give an honest assessment of the way I'm viewing this show. And, I would say I think it's still worth watching. Don't jump on me. But I think that it is, right? So, um I love the representation in terms of aesthetics of these women on this show. You can't dispute. These are some gorgeous ladies. Um I mean all of them are. In their own way, they are. But it's given a bit of a crabs in the barrel situation. I mean, a lot of it. And the crabs in the barrel mentality is something that I know that we deal with it in my community, right? And I'm not gonna like isolate it to just my culture, my community. But that alone is something um, to glean from because at some point, if we are going to be successful as a people, um, and the way that the world is kind of shaping right now, that mentality, I can't even say that it's catching up to us. It's kind of gotten ahead of us. Like it's past us, right? Um, so it's definitely given that. And I'm trying not to be nervous, y'all. I think we need to remove the clout out of it. I think that not every moment has to be a one up moment. And, um, you know, it's very relatable, and it's flawed, and the human experience is flawed. So, I think it's a great example in that sense, if there can be some improvement. So, I think my biggest issue with this show is the way that it's set up. Melody Cherie she is the nucleus in this show, and not in a good way, right? Um, she is the nucleus in this show, as in a lot of characters, and we're just going to call them characters. They get to use her as their target, whether it's, a scene of gossiping about what's going on in her life or the newest thing or the newest beef. Um, there is always some type of conversation surrounding this woman. At the same time, um, they don't really care for her genuinely. So, Melody, to me, she is always. I haven't seen an episode of hers, and granted, I checked out and I'm checking back in. But I haven't seen a season where this lady wasn't on the defense about something, that she wasn't scrapping about something. Um, and so that's why I say her being the nucleus is not really a good thing, because the other characters are not forced to deal with their stuff. They tend to kind of use her as a layup for a platform, and that's not fair. Um, it lends That's what lends us into all the toxicity spaces and doesn't afford the opportunity to kind of graduate from that crabs in a barrel um, mentality. So I'm not trying to bore you guys, but I'm trying to just kind of set up where I'm going about this show, right? So let's talk about Mel for a little bit. Mel is, she's a perfectionist. She's very smart. She has used this platform the way it's supposed to be used to launch her businesses, to to build her brand, to rebound from this toxic marriage that she was in. And also in doing that, she's suffering some of the plights of just being a celebrity and everyone having an opinion. And luckily for her, there is a strong backing for her, a very strong fan base that women can relate to, and I'm sure have often identified with. I identify with her in a lot of areas, in her personality type. And so she has some people that will go to bat for her. And I find that a very good thing, because, you know, she's is always swords coming at this woman. And I like to see it kind of, for just lack of a better term, if she's going to be the nucleus, because in my opinion, she is the most successful. I don't know so much as business wise, because there are some strong businesses that go on in this show, but definitely in terms of popularity, right? And influence. So she's definitely got them there. And but if we talk about the flaws in the human experience of this show, like I said, Melody is a very smart woman. She knows her stuff. She knows where she comes from. She's very confident, and that can be threatening to a lot of people. It can also make some insecurities kind of show up in other people. And she doesn't, in certain situations, I think that Mel could be more humble. And I don't mean more humble in a way of kind of swallowing her tongue, or, swallowing her pride, or taking someone else's abuse or attacks. I don't mean it in that way. I find that she can be, she kind of already has a platform and is on a pedestal, but she has no problem with setting herself there. And she has to sometimes, or may feel like she has to sometimes, because of the way that they come at her. But I think that if she can adopt more of that in her personality, especially when they come for her, um, that it would lessen some of the attacks. Because what I see is, because she has all these positive attributes about her, And the personality type that she knows who she is, she knows where she comes from, and she knows that she's that girl. It causes people to want to humble you and go to certain lengths to humble you and attack you and kind of bring you down a notch. And she doesn't have to adopt that spirit. And I'm going to give you an example. When they were on the beach, and hopefully this is a good example because I'm going off of content, going off of my content like timeline here. But when they were on the beach, and she was talking about she and Stormy, like that problem between her and Stormy as she viewed it. And I like that. I liked what she said, but the way that it came off, like, the dethroning me term that she used, it was boisterous. It was a very boisterous way of asserting her position. And I don't think it's necessary because it's already known. Like, it's like that is just who you are. So the reminders aren't really needed. And if you feel that they are, then this is the type of energy that you're going to get. And it's kind of like this round and round circle. So that was just one example. It may not have been a great example because I'm kind of pulling off the dome when I got there. But that is Melody. So, excuse me. Again, I don't think every moment needs to be a better than the next moment, or I just don't think that the show really needs that. Moving on. So, while they're at this dinner, and we're talking about her and Destiny. So, Destiny, wait a minute. Hold on. Okay. So they're at this dinner, and Sunny is kind of putting on her producer hat. She's putting on her producer hat, and in this conversation, she asks Mel, so Destiny kind of, she alluded to our friendship and, that sort of a thing. What do you think about her? What was her downfall in your friendship? What about that? And so Mel answers the question. She's like, she goes kind of like through the flashback, when she had her video release party, when she had this kind of taco night, and then I think she used the piece about Destiny, being friends with Martell and in conversation with her and knowing that he's taken her down through there. And, well, wait a minute, this is Martell. Let me talk to him, kind of thing, like putting her aside to talk to him while Destiny knows all the things that are going on with her. And so Destiny, is like, well, let me back up a minute. When they talk about that video flashback moment when she was debuting her video, and Destiny made this comment like, I'm mad at you because you keep dismissing my need for a village, or you know um my plight about needing a village. And Mel was like, listen, I'm not gonna address that. I ain't got time for that. Like, I'm trying to do this, and I can't do that right now. And that was something that was kind of building up. Like, it it builds up to that moment because that entire season, I'm not Sunny, as Destiny is transitioning from her marriage to Martell and still dealing with all of that, and I may have said Destiny, but I meant Melody, and trying to build her platform and, run her businesses and, get herself started post divorce. Plus, she has 4 children. Isn't it 4? Yeah, it's 4, and one of them is a baby. She's wanting Mel to help her. She's wanting Mel to help her kind of figure out her issues, and she doesn't have capacity for that. And Destiny was getting mad with her about it. And so the pattern with Destiny is when she doesn't kind of get the attention that she wants, um, she begins attacking. She makes it where you're either going to have the conversation or we're going to fight about something, even if it's not the subject that we're on. Like, I am not letting you walk away from this moment because I want your attention. I need your attention. And that was something that was hard to watch when they were in that, because it was this moment. And even if you had issue with your friend, like, you're ruining it for her. And so I understood Mel when she was talking about that. Then the Taco Tuesday thing, if you notice, when I'm saying Taco Tuesday, but it was a taco dinner moment or whatever it was. And she was, trying to have a conversation. Like, she was, you're over talking me and you're interrupting me. And Destiny kept turning up and turning up and turning up then. And even with, you know, the Martell thing, their Destiny is, I mean, not Destiny, Melody is going through her issues with Martell. And he is taking her down through there in ways that we didn't even know as viewers. So for her to be on the phone with Destiny and talking to her friend and supposedly leaning on each other, and then she has to end the call because Martell is, on the other line. It was kind of like a slap in the face for Melody. And I'm not going to say that she was a bad friend in that moment, but she could not balance the two. And even if you're going to say that you're not going to have loyalty to either one, at some points in those stages, you're going to have to show loyalty to someone in the moment. And in that moment, she did not show it to Mel. And so, you know, they landed themselves there. Destiny came back with, you didn't mention that to me. Like, you never said that you had those issues. Um, you didn't give me an opportunity to address it. And, you could have been, even if you felt that way, you didn't have to be, nasty and drag me and, you know, call me a liar. You could have exited gracefully. And my question was, did you allow that? Like, did you allow her to do that? Because it seems like I kind of remember Destiny going on a Mel wasn't a good friend kind of thing. Even in the reunion episodes, she was she wasn't coming from a position of, listen, I miss my friend, we haven't spoken, what did I do? It was a combative, I'm going to bring you down a notch. It's not all about you. It was nothing that Mel could walk away from and say, hey, let me call her and see how we can work this out. So as she's saying that, like calling her a liar, I was like, what would she have to call you a lie about? Like, what were you lying about? And I think that that was about the friendship. I think that some of the things got flushed out about, where Melody had to remind her that she had given her money. Like, you're saying, I'm not a good friend. And, I've been supportive. I've been doing these things. I've been there for you, kind of thing. So, child, me and my notes. Okay, so I think Mel got into the video that she posted. Even okay, so you posted this video of my kids with my ex and his girl or whatever. And Destiny was like, I was just posting a video for Martell's birthday. And as soon as it came to my attention where people were saying, you got Ariane in the video and you doing this with her children, and I immediately took it down. And one, I had two thoughts about that. One thought was, did you did you even look at the video? Because she says she posted a video for Martell's birthday. And the Mel and Martell has this custody arrangement thing to where they can't post the children on social media. So when she says she posted the video for Martell's birthday, it sounded like, did you even look at the video before you posted it? Like, did he give her a video that had that girl in it? And she was just thinking she's posting a video for their birthday, for his birthday, because she was also there. And so she got into, it took me years to be around this girl, that is who he's with. So I'm over there, and hanging out and, whatever. What am I supposed to do about that? And so Mel kind of reaches the point where, listen, she's one thing that she said was, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna lie. I have this big heart and I walk away from things and I think about it later. And, I'm very open, and, I think that everybody has good intentions, and I embrace people, and I find out later that it wasn't what I thought. And so what she didn't say was she began to make the moves to protect herself. But that's just kind of like how she moves. And as she's saying that, I'm reminded of how, she walked Tisha into some of the business meetings with different ladies when Tisha expressed that she wanted to kind of get in the entrepreneur space. She wanted to get her independence from just being not just as if it's, you know, a belittling situation, but like she wanted to kind of get out of being the house mom. And I remember Melody kind of walking her into some spaces, introducing her to people and, giving her pointers. And Marceau didn't really like that. But I remember those pieces about her. Even Stormy, when Stormy came on the scene, which I think was around this same season, she and Stormy had a very open, I don't want to say you scratch my back, I scratch yours. It wasn't so much like that, but there wasn't any strife or beef there. And so I do think that Mel goes into her relationships with true, honest intentions. And it's unfortunate that these experiences has kind of taken that liberty away from her. Like she feels a need to protect herself more. And I get that. I definitely get that. And I find it unfortunate that that's kind of where she's landed, but I understand it. Because even with her and Destiny, when she and Destiny were friends and they were going through, their divorces, Mel was finding out things in those episodes. Like she found out that Destiny was divorced well after the divorce. And so that was also a thing that shed some light in the balance or not so balance of her friendship with her. And so Melody kind of reaches this point where she's like, listen, this stuff was so long ago. We don't even have to talk about it. Like, it doesn't even really matter. Basically, it's not going to be a resolution because I'm not even going to address the me exiting gracefully or, who's the victim or not the victim or, me dragging you. Like, I'm not even going to address it because that's really not what happened. That's really not how it went down. And it's so long ago, I don't feel the need to kind of rehash it. Like, let's just let it go. That upset Destiny. And it turned into kind of like a gaslighting moment because she wasn't getting what she wanted from Mel. She's having this conversation when they're having it at first. She's having that conversation with the intent of kind of redeeming herself and having Melody take some responsibility in the demise of their friendship. That's the way she's kind of having that conversation. So when Mel kind of went down that road of why are we even talking about this? It's not necessary. I already said that I'm gonna have pure intentions, whatever we gonna get through this trip, have a good time. I don't have no beef for real. Like, you know, and Destiny was like, but it's still there. And Mel said, for who? It's not there for me. It doesn't matter for me. She didn't say it's not there for me. She also didn't say it doesn't matter for me. But that for who statement is um where it kind of turned, where Destiny kind of turned. And so Destiny went into the whole respectful cheating thing and her trying to teach teach that girl how to cheat respectfully with her husband. That's where she kind of went to. And it just went left. Everybody looked at Destiny like she had two heads. And she became very like own it. You were talking to her on the phone. Let me know when he get there. And I said that that was weird when you was talking to her on the phone and trying to, like as if you guys were friends or working together or that kind of thing. Like she was contradicting herself even when she was saying that, but she accomplished what she wanted. She got some emotion and some response out of Mel because by her saying that, it put Melody on the defense, and she was like, I know you fucking lying. Like, what? That doesn't even make sense. And then they began to have the exchange that she wanted. I wish Mel would, but I get it. She is so respected and has, I mean, not everyone is going to like her anyway, but she has a pretty strong fan base that is going to continue to propel her forward. And she has the smarts and the brand, and like she has all of those aspects. So you don't have to defend yourself. I understand why you are, but it the same look that everybody had on this screen, even Lauren's face was like, what? And Destiny kept going. because Melody was giving her energy. She was exchanging with her. She had gotten upset. Um, she was even starting to recant some of their, well, if it was this, then why would I be crying on your shoulder? If it was this, then where was all the pain that I was going through? Like, who would do that? Like, why would I do that? And Destiny began to contradict herself. Like I said, Destiny went into, you were talking to her on the phone and you were even texting her, and Mel was like, so was I doing that because I wanted to catch him cheating? Like, let me know when he get there. And like, was it that? Because it wasn't me coaching her on how to stay in the background and stay in her side piece space. So it's like, which one is it, Destiny? Because if you thought these things about her, and even if you think it today, what's the reason of bringing that up right here? Because you're not getting what you want from her. And it really didn't make sense. And then she got aggressive, she got upset, she, calling the girl a liar, and you just gonna lie to my, like, it was so much chaos, chaotic communication in that moment. I had a hard time kind of figuring out, not even so much as who was telling the truth or not, but just kind of like picking the parts, because I know that Mel wasn't doing that. I know that that wasn't the case. I know that there was a time in their space where she had a conversation with this woman, like, look, he's married, whatever. I know that there was a time and space where she was really, really fighting for her marriage. She was really, really trying to work through her things. We saw on the screen how Martell could be very charming, and where he called this lady a peasant, and, like, the back and forth of it all. We saw that. So I think that if there was any type of conversation, it was in a moment where they both are supposedly being done with him, and the other girl was calling herself mad at him, and she's wanting him to go away and leave her alone, so he can't come back and gaslight Mel, and do all the things that we've seen Martell do in this relationship. She may have wanted to catch him red-handed, because they have $1 million business, if not a multi-million-dollar business, Holt and Holt, Realty, or Homes, Holt and Holt Homes, or something like that. They have 4 children at this point. Um, as we saw, that she was really, really, really the breadwinner, you know? And so I'm pretty sure there wasn't a prenup for them, because they built kind of from the ground up. They were both school teachers when they kind of married or whatever. So I'm pretty sure that there was a lot to kind of sift through. So I would say that even if that's the space that she was in, it was from that perspective, to get what she needed so her divorce can be clean. So she don't have to owe him anything, you know? That she don't have to pay him spousal support, that he doesn't get custody of the kids and all of that stuff. Like, come on. And I was disappointed because I had hopes that Destiny would own her infractions and what she has done to kind of damage this friendship, just so that it's not awkward between them. I didn't think that, if Melody reached a place where she would entertain kind of like a colleague situation with Destiny, I don't think it would be in the next few years. I think it would be something down the road, but you got to start somewhere. And it just kind of completely went left when she went there. And it was like she attacked her to get the response that she wanted, so that, whatever need she had to, I don't know. Like, I can't even come up with a reason for that other than not knowing how to be a good friend, or even Yeah, that's part of it. Not knowing how to be a good friend, not knowing how to take rejection because she felt rejected in that moment because Mel did not even get into the hashing of it all. Um, like I said my piece and what my issues were about where you dropped the ball in the friendship. You're giving me my issues on how I just kind of walked away and didn't tell you anything. And it's kind of a mute point at this point. I was just answering Sonny's question because I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. And something that wasn't something that Destiny could accept. And so that's the tactic that she used, which that's the cycle that she needs to break because it's kind of like a gaslighting. Um, it was just like a gaslighting thing. So that was kind of Destiny and Melody. And I think that there are people that use these kind of tactics in relationships all the time, across friendships, across, romantic relationships, even in sibling relationships. Um, it's a different form of gaslighting, if that's the term. I don't really know. I'm not a mental health specialist. Um, but it's to me, it's a war tactic. It's a fighting tactic. That's just really what it is. Okay, we're not going to get resolution, so I'm going to attack you. And in this moment, while they're here in this space and Destiny going there, she will turn right back around and be on her interviews and all of that, making that a Melody problem. And so now Melody is, yeah, I'm done with you. And that's that. And y'all not gonna get me in this space again and have a conversation with this girl. And so it kind of the cycle kind of continues. Um, and Destiny doesn't know how to be a good friend. She just doesn't. And I think the Sunny situation, getting over into that situation, is kind of like her friend karma. Because as I'm looking at like this exchange between her and Mel, and it was after her addressing with Sunny. But as I'm looking at that, it's kind of like what you are doing to her is the same thing that Sunny did to you. Because I do think that she and Sunny have formed some type of friendship. Like they have formed some type of bond. I think that they did because Destiny had receipts, like especially that text that, hey, I missed you, I love you. And Sunny was like, well, that was a response to what she was saying to me. And Shanita was like, but did you say it though? I mean, you said it. So do you tell people that and you don't mean it? And Sunny kind of just like backed away from that. She became sort of dismissive and almost defensive because she didn't want to really own that you had given this girl a reason to believe that you guys were friends and that your relationship had moved outside of Love and Marriage Huntsville because Destiny also divulged that she was her producer when Destiny was trying to do the music thing. And we know that Destiny was like getting interviews on different platforms and she had become part of a podcast. Like she had began to move in certain circles outside of Love and Marriage Huntsville, like the cast of Love and Marriage Huntsville. she was she was basically getting what she was demanding from Mel about the village and help me and bring me on and all that kind of stuff. It's obvious that she was getting that from Sonny. And so I do believe that she and Sonny were had forged some type of friendship. And I felt like that was Destiny's karma, her friendship karma. Because the way that I still say that Melody was a good friend to her. And because Melody moves the way that she does, Destiny became jealous and envious and then even mad at her because Melody wasn't taking her steps with Destiny right by her side and pulling her under her umbrella and kind of like carrying her along. That's what she wanted from Mel. Even when she was talking about, you're ignoring the fact that I said I need my village. Well, baby, she can't be that for you. And you want to punish her for that. So Destiny doesn't even understand the concept of being someone's friend. She just understands the concept of what it looks like in her mind for a person to be a friend to her. It's an opportunistic relationship and pulls me over into the whole crab in the barrel situation because Melody and Destiny were both divorced. From Destiny's account, they had similar experiences or whatever. And Melody is pulling herself up by her bootstraps and she's moving forward. And Destiny doesn't have the resources or the work ethic. And I would argue the know how to do the same thing. And she wanted it to be kind of like a simultaneous thing for them. And she had the expectation of Melody juggling everything that she was juggling and having her as a dependent. And when she didn't get what she wanted, she attacked her and she aligned against her. And she showed us the exact same thing in this dinner while she's arguing her point and thinking that she's going to get to a resolution about the breakdown of their friendship. And when Melody respectfully declined the conversation, she began attacking her. And this is why I have empathy for Mel and of all that she kind of battles, whatever her flaws may be. A lot of the flack that she gets and experiences that she has with these people who are supposed to be her friends, she doesn't deserve it. And it's unfortunate that these experiences have put her in a space to where her heart isn't as open as she used to be. Because that was a beautiful trait of hers. Um and it's just unfortunate that it landed them in that space. So, but it got me back to the crab in the barrel thing. Speaking of Sunny, Sunny knew when she asked Mel that question. So, what do you think? She said that, all the stuff about us as friends or, whatever. What do you think her breakdown was? Sunny knew what the answer to that question was because she was a producer on the show at that time. And it just gave me, not that I needed any more insight to her, it just let me know that she knew about Moses because Destiny, had this person that she was dating that she refused to bring on the show. And Sunny helping her even after Love and Marriage Huntsville was kind of done because she kind of had the thank you for your services talk with Carlos. We weren't privy to it, but she wasn't willing to share her experiences. She wasn't talking about this guy she was dating. So she ultimately was, inadvertently let go because you weren't filming anything. And Sunny was a part of that, right? So Sunny isn't really a big factor, but I think that Sunny was Destiny's friend karma if she took the opportunity to kind of learn from that experience. But because she doesn't know how to take rejection, and she has this need to be validated or whatever that is that goes on with her, and she begins attacking when she doesn't get the response that she wants. um it misses her, and she's going to stay in that space, in that cycle, if she doesn't kind of come out of it. So um one thing that I saw with Sunny, she was kind of harping on this 90-day thing, because they talked about, well, how long did it take you to get married? And how long did it take you to get married? And she was like, 90 days. It only took us 90 days. And they got into the timeline of her her Destiny and Moses. And I believe Sunny thinks that she did something special, because she may have had Sunny, she may have allowed Sunny to, may have made Moses wait 90 days for them to be intimate. So she has this kind of attitude like she did something special. Like, you know, basically, he knew I was his wife. It only took me 3 months to get my ring, whereas you was with him for 15 years and you didn't get your ring. But you allow him to kind of play around and dip around even into 30 days of your 90-day rule. And yes, it's perfectly fine for that someone would be dating, when you meet them, but when you guys decide that you're going to be committed and all of that, it should be the whole straight 90 days. So he really, if he went 90 days without dealing with anybody else. But I found it interesting that she kept harping on that 90-day thing. And I really like to see that whole situation get flushed out with her and Moses. Um, because Moses doesn't even have the conversations with the other guys as if he will be a faithful husband. He entertained the thought of having a side piece and who that person may be. Like, he really entertained that on television. And that was disrespectful as far as I'm concerned. So Sunny kind of thinks that she has something, and we've talked about that, but yeah, she don't really have anything there. So um into the respectful cheating thing, I can really see Mel, because they went back to a flashback of her when um when she said, "What do you guys think?" It was like the first season, because she had that haircut that I love so much. Um, what do you guys think? Is there a such thing as respectful cheating? You know, and yeah, it absolutely is a thing of respectful cheating, and you know that person may never know. The wife may never know that you got something on the side. You're handling everything at home. It gets disrespectful. You know, that person began to think that they're the wife, and they start overstepping. Like, I remember those that conversation, and I remember even commentary around that when they were having that conversation. I remember that, and I would say I can, if that's where she was, knowing what we know about Mr. Man, I can see her. Excuse me. I can see her being fine with him having a little pillow to hump on anytime he wanted to, like the little dog brain that he presents himself to be sometimes. I can see that. She'd even told him to have go and get you a girlfriend. She ain't got to do it. She said that he never brought her to the orgasm thing. He never brought her to that. Um, Even after she had Sugar Mama, she had Sugar Mama, and you know what I mean. Like that was getting into telling some of, and I don't want to do that, but getting into some of the negative parts. Let's just say she never got a break. She said that she was always pregnant. Like her 20s, she was always pregnant. And we see how he moves even now, and how Ariane, oh, I said her name. Mm. Anyway, how she and her son and Melody's last baby are not that far apart. So, given everything that must have been going on in that marriage, I can see her saying that. With that being said, I don't think that that was her standard. I don't think that she would have been okay with him having a girl on the side. I think that the situation that they were going through was not even allowing them room to kind of make, I don't want to say make up, but kind of just, if she decided to reconcile or whatever, you have made it to where I can't, because now you've basically taken it outside of our household, because I can't even really save face and give you another opportunity to try to get this right, because you were so disrespectful with it. I definitely don't believe that she was coaching this girl on how to be the other woman. I just don't believe that. She was too hurt by everything that went on. Um, and she was too invested to make it work when she was trying to make it work. Like, I think that when she was in that marriage and said that she was going to work it out, she was fully in, so much is so she would become pregnant again. You know what I mean? So she is trying to do the things that he's complaining about to keep him from doing what he was doing, although it was never going to work because we see how he is. At the same time, I remember, I said that to say that I remember her talking about that. I remember that it being kind of one of her driving points on the whole cheating pieces of their relationship, but I don't think that that was a standard that she accepted. I think that it was like how an outside baby would be the thing. um the disrespectful piece of it would be the thing that would not allow me to give you another chance. And I'm not trying to mince words there, or just go away from that, but I just I don't think that's where she was going. At the same time, if she was, I can understand. Get out of my face, Martell. Go find you somebody to play with. But handle all your businesses and treat me the way I'm supposed to be as your wife, and whatever. I don't need to know what you're doing. I'm not gonna even be checking on what you're doing as long as you're handling business here. If you do it in a way that I never find out about it, I never find out about it. But you can't even do that. I don't think she was coaching that lady. I just don't. So, I mean, I can see it, and it sounds like he wasn't even that great at it. So why wouldn't she? You know, why wouldn't she? So I got into all of that, y'all. Me and these papers, child. I got into all of that because I was talking about just the whole breakdown of male, and not even really the breakdown of it. But I went all around the mulberry bush with that piece and that scenario of their conversation to kind of bring me to the space of, although that behavior of destiny is what it is, and how she shows up in friendships and how she shows up when she doesn't get the response that she wants, if it can all be balanced, there is something that can be taken from that, because it's an opportunity to um I mean, it's a real human experience. People respond in that way. And so it's an opportunity, one, for destiny to improve upon, and two, um for people that operate in that sense, see how detrimental it is to friendships and relationships and, that piece. So that's an area that could be something that can contribute to transformation in this show. Got a little ahead of myself there. But and speaking to how because Melody moves in the way that she does, this is where people begin to kind of like use that against her to attack her and bring her down, and kind of knock her off her pedestal. So I got into that. I think I got into it before I planned to, but I got into it. And what do you guys think about Sunny being her karma, and Sunny thinking that she's doing something because they got married in 90 days and she got the ring? I think that she gonna end up having egg on her face. That's what I think. But I mean, you know, we're not there yet. So Trisha and Shanita had a conversation. I forget what it kind of leaves me, how it came about with Trisha and Shanita, but it got into the marriage piece. It was the part about how long have you been married? Um, how long did it take you to get married? So when they were going around that room, Trish interjected and said, "Well, it took us 2 years." And Shanita was like, "Wait a minute, you married? I didn't know you were married." And Trish began to kind of stumble a little bit, and it got flushed out that she is married with a boyfriend. And so Shanita's like, "Well, how are you going to have smoke with this girl about what she got going on, and you married with a boyfriend?" And Trish was saying it's not the same thing. I didn't step on anybody's toes. And she began to get loud and began to get, and Shanita was like, "Bring it down, bring it down, bring it down." Um, and so I think the consensus at the table was, but yeah, you're still married. Yes, you were separated for 5 years, but in the eyes of God, or karmic law or whatever, you're still married. So even though you may not be married in the flesh of it, you still married in the spirit and in the eyes of judgment. So how can you judge the next person? You don't have room to judge the next person. And I think that's kind of like where they were coming from. And Trish was like, it's not the same thing, because she was focusing on the acts that were involved, the offenses that were involved, and not understanding that by her judging Sunny's behavior, you're kind of perpetrating the same thing. And two things could be right. So, Trish, you really don't have any. You shouldn't have anything to say about that. But anyway, all right. So now that I went all down that piece about between Destiny and Mel in that situation, the the show opened up with them being on the beach, and they were doing the jet skis. They were kind of enjoying themselves, and it was a little bit divided. So Tisha and Stormy and Kimmie were talking, and Shanita and Mel, Nell and Sunny were like under the umbrellas and stuff, and they were talking. And so Tisha was talking about she didn't know that Sunny was going to be there, and she's going to have to give Destiny a heads up because Destiny is on her way there. She's almost there. And Shanita saw them talking, and Shanita was like, "I told you they're the ops." She assumed that they were talking about Mel, and I understand why Shanita thought that, um, because she doesn't trust Destiny. But that led them to this conversation about Nell. I'm sorry. Shanita brought up the piece about somebody has already told you who they were. You've already said who you were, whatever. And so I have to believe that. And she really wasn't interested in what their little huddle was about. She already believes who this girl is. So, she doesn't give it any second thought. You're the ops. That was where she was coming from. And so they got into the whole dinner where, Tisha can be around you and not like you. And Mel used the analogy of kind of like how Judas and Jesus, where Judas betrayed Jesus for the silver, but he was at that Last Supper. And so Neil says, "Child, male friends," and I'm paraphrasing. Male friends got her so delusional. She's comparing herself to Jesus. She thinks so highly of herself. She's comparing herself to Jesus. And I don't think that's what Mel was doing. I think not in that sense. I think she was using it as an analogy, kind of like she was using the situation of being friends with someone, and that person did nothing to deserve it, because Jesus didn't do anything to deserve Judas' betrayal. It was for his greed that he did that to him. So she was talking about the betrayal of it, not so much as putting herself in Jesus' shoes in that sense. Like, she, I mean, he does live in us in that piece, but she wasn't putting herself on that status. I took that as um that is Mel's thoughts. I'm sorry, Nell's thoughts, her inner thoughts about Melody, and whether Melody used that analogy or not, that thought of her fans have her head big and she thinks she's all that, she thinks she's on this platform sort of thing, like she thinks she's on this pedestal that's up here, that's above everybody. That was Mel's own insecurity and her own. She's gonna say, I don't have a reason to be jealous of Mel, but for her to glean that from that subject, from that statement that she made, other than just the kind of betrayal of a friend versus putting on the whole persona that I am Jesus in this space, it spoke to um I'm sorry, Nell's own personal thought. and her own prejudice against a person who she says is her friend, who she says that she's a friend with. And that brought me to the whole crab in the barrel kind of thing. And all it would take is for Nell to have the right ally. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be an ally, but in that moment, you see why Nell kind of turns on her, or it's not even so much as turns on her. She's not stable. She's not a stable friend force in Mel's circle. She just isn't. It's fragile. And it's not because of anything that Mel is personally doing to her, it's because of her own prejudice of the way that Mel's fan base uplift her. Nell showed her skirt in that moment. Her slip was showing. Anyway, Mel did address Stormy. She addressed the Stormy thing because Sunny asked her, well, do you think it's because they jealous of you, or whatever? And they were talking about Stormy in that moment. And Mel says, I can't remember if she said she thinks, no, I don't think I think she said no. Or maybe she did. But the most important part of what she was saying was people began to think that they can take your spot and dethrone you from your position. And I was kind of, at first, I wasn't quite sure if she was talking about Stormy or if she was talking about, not Stormy, if she was talking about Tisha, because there was a portion, and I got this from the YouTube streets, not from me watching, but I thought that there was a portion where they were trying to position Tisha and Marcel as the kind of lead, like the lead couple or the power couple. I thought so, but still, I was like, dang, which one is she talking about? But she did specifically say Stormy, and she said that you know you get in a space and then think that you're going to be the HBIC. And I may be getting that from somewhere else, but I thought that's what she said. Basically, and you're going to dethrone me. Whereas you should have your own thing and be right beside me. You could be beside me with your own thing and we can rock this thing out together, but you're not going to move me off of my throne. And that was the I mean it did happen in the show, but I'm speaking on that because it was not a very humbling position. It wasn't coming from a humble space. And that type of representation, or persona, is some of the reasons why they go so hard to kind of excuse me to dethrone her using her own terms. I don't think it was anything wrong with um, describing the way that they would fit on this show. I don't think it was anything wrong with her kind of calling it out like, you're trying to push me out. But trying to push me out is a better way of saying that versus trying to take me off of my throne. Um, and that piece of her personality, or her piece of her representation of herself, is some of the reason why she gets some of the attacks that she gets. Does it make it right or wrong? I'm not even here to say that. It really doesn't matter at this point. It is what causes a human response in people that are not mature enough to be in a space of this is something to aspire to be or learn from, and I can take this and build my own. Um, we don't have to be in competition. We don't have to be where you got to be down here so I can be up here, or vice versa. It feeds into the insecurity of people, and that's not a male problem. That is the other people problem. But I'm just saying that to kind of point out how I see it as a flaw, because we are supposed to be humble in our experiences. We This is one of the reasons why it's good to be humble even in your successes. It just allows for a more cohesive existence, in my opinion. So, but I did understand what she was saying, and she's correct in come in, find your space, build your thing. Don't come at me. Like don't be trying to attack me. Don't be aligning with folks and sitting around gossiping about me and talking about me. Like come in and do what you're supposed to be doing for your own platform and what you have going on. And that's where that kind of mentality and those experiences is what gets this show off balance, because they can't seem to stop gossiping about this one particular person. Um, and it's unhealthy, and it creates these experiences that the viewers get tired of watching. They just do. They get tired of watching it. They get tired of seeing it because it becomes toxic and it becomes exhausting. Because then you put her in a position, like she said, to fight back. You put her in a position to start dragging you across these internet streets. You put her in a position to start battling you in that spirit that you're coming in. And so, you know, there's a space for everybody to kind of help make this show not be so toxic. Um, so anyway, let's see. Um, did I cover everybody? Oh, I know what else I was going to say. So I found it interesting that Tisha um kind of took Kimmie's position. Like Tisha was driving the fleshing out the conversations. She started with, well, Destiny and Sunny, they had their thing. And we kind of talked about that because that was that clip that we went over like the last week, I think it was last Saturday. So she kind of spearheaded the Destiny and signing conversation, and they got into the whole timeline of everything. Um, and you know, my whole thing between the Destiny and signing thing was Destiny got what she gave, and she thought that she would walk away from how she treated Melody and do all the things that she was doing and kind of continue to elevate, or have positive experiences, or find another positive friend in someone else. And she got what she gave. So she did that, and then she circled around to um, Melody and Destiny. Like, we're gonna have some things tomorrow going on. We want to have some fun, and let's just get everything out there. And it wasn't a bad thing. They did need to kind of make sure that everybody could have a good time tomorrow. But I just found it interesting that Tisha was in that space and Kimmie was in that space in her confessional. Tisha was in that space, and she did a decent job. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I just found it interesting that she was kind of like in Kimmie's spot, so to speak, because Kimmie's normally the one trying to flesh out healthy conversations. I did like what Kimmie was saying in her confessional, though. Like, why would you go from her having this Destiny being having this heated conversation with Sunny and then move her into this male space when they've been not seeing it for each other for years, at least a couple years, and you expect for this to go well. And it didn't go well. Um, Destiny also talked to Mel about her talking to them like children, being condescending in her tone, and you know, uh, like, oh, we're not gonna do that, we're not gonna do that, like that kind of thing. And one, Melody's pitch and her voice is just kind of like that. And two, um, I've seen Melody be patient in conversations and um, gracious in conversations, softer in conversations. So that's not always her tone. I think when she really doesn't see it for a person and you are saying things that are really ticking me off, it's hard for me to kind of handle you with kitten gloves because I don't even want to talk to you for real anyway. There's no point in us discussing this thing. So why are you speaking to me? Kind of thing. Whether it's, a good trait or a bad trait, whatever. But I don't think that, I mean, I guess the spade is a spade. It is condescending, but I understand why. Mel Destiny over the last couple years has shown herself to be the ops. So why would you expect for her to speak to you like she's someone that cares about your feelings when you've shown her that you don't care nothing about this woman's feelings or her children, even so much as in this moment right now, you know? Um, so, but she did mention that, and Mel declined to kind of get into that conversation with her. So I felt like this whole kind of thing and all these conversations that they had is, it's a threshold kind of moment and really a configuration because at least they're talking. At least you're fleshing some things out. At least you're coming to an understanding. At least the other person is getting kind of, even if it's not everything that they want from the conversation, they're getting what they need to be able to move on. It got ugly. Um, it got rah-rah. And that was on Destiny. It was on Destiny. She got very upset. Stood up, I'm not gonna let you lie and whatever. Why do you feel so passionate about this woman denying that, she wasn't trying to train this girl to be a side piece for her and her husband? The It just sounded ridiculous. And then why are you getting upset about it? Because what you're really mad about is that you were really mad about the dismissive thing. Um, and let's just move on and have a good time versus you getting what you expected to get from her. And she's going to say, I didn't have any expectation of her. She can do whatever or whatever. But then why did you respond in that way? Why did you react in that way? And we could have done without that. Because I think Mel did try to kind of did that. So, um, but that's kind of like where you start fleshing some things out and figuring out what's working and what's not working. That's kind of what happens in that in that space. When you come out of that, it's supposed to be, new and fresh and some improvement. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to transform a little bit. And the problem with Love and Marriage Huntsville is they keep circling back to the same formula. Melody being the nucleus, and not the nucleus as a leader, the nucleus to hide some of their other imperfections and use the viewing time to either gossip or plan or degrade. And that's what's too much. In this episode, in this scene, they them hanging out at the beach, them having this dinner, them having this sit down and kind of fleshing some things out wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It wasn't really at all. But when that's all that you have, that's what makes the show so toxic. And it isn't really a break from it. And there aren't really any healthy dynamics. None. And that's what makes it so hard to watch and kind of unbalanced. So what does it, like what changes would I make? Like what changes would you make? This is really not going the way that I had planned for it to go. But I still have to ask those questions. So I'm going to answer them myself. What changes would I make? One, I would stop all the gossiping um about this one single person. Is or really just the gossiping period. You know, I would move away from. I would just kind of have. I would move away from an ensemble cast who's all targeting this one single nucleus. Everybody should have their own thing going on. And if they don't have their own thing going on, then they get less and less time on the show. They just do. They need other things kind of, in the mix. It's fine to have a little bit of drama, and a little bit of these conflicts, but it shouldn't be the entire show. Um, so I really wouldn't have a star. I would kind of even it out a little bit. I like Shanita as a part of the cast, even if it's just kind of like a friend of the cast when they get together for dinners or girlfriend time or whatever. I think she's a good balance to keeping people honest. I like that. Um, I think that Destiny could still stay. I don't think that Destiny has to leave. She has this flaw. She does not know how to be a good friend. Um, like I think Destiny can be fun. I think she has some personality pieces that are likable. They're not unlikable, but she goes for the jugular, she plays dirty, and then she's not honest. And those are the things, that's the adjustments that need to be made with her. And, any friends that she's going to have to kind of hold her accountable um, to that. So I like Destiny. Well, I mean, I think that she could stay, but, give us more of her co parenting experience, maybe. Um, what she's doing to kind of pay the money back to her ex, and that piece like it's out there anyway, so why not show what you're doing with that? Keep nurturing the friendship with you and with her and Tisha. I don't really see her and Kimmie being friends for real. But her and Tisha may be able to really forge a healthy kind of thing to where they can, give us something in the show. So you can kind of play on that, do some things together. Um, even have Stormy in the mix of that. You know, is she a main story or is she not? I don't really know. But she doesn't necessarily have to leave because it would be nice to see her. It would be nice to see her kind of grow from that ugly flaw of hers, which brings me to Melody saying that she pulled that out of her big ugly butt. That was funny. And I definitely understood that. But it would be kind of nice to see her deal with the challenges of that if she can own up to it. Somebody would have to hold her accountable about it. Stormy would probably be the person to do it. Um, and see her grow with that. And even whatever her, if Martell is going to be on the show, which I think the guys don't really need to be regulars. I think that they can kind of exist like how they do over there with Married to Medicine. Like they get together in the guy stuff and, have their moments and talk about their relationships or whatever. They can do that once or twice, but not as regulars on the show. So, um, you know, I like that. I dropped something. Let's see. Stormy she has that family stuff going on. She's got her relationship with her mom. She's planning to have a surrogate for the second baby. May need to stay away from the business piece of it and stop, you know, dropping $2,200 on a whatever when all of this other stuff is flushed out in the public. Like, kind of stay away from the flossing of it. Um, flossing the status or whatever, and just get into the real kind of marriage pieces of her life. And I think that she has enough to pull from there to where it doesn't have to be too invasive, but you know, I like that. That's an option. Nell, her family, her relationship with Chris, her growth as a person and her communication style and that piece and the therapy of it all. She has a daycare that she runs, um, mentoring or training or how she runs her business, dealing with employees. Like, I don't know, but just something other than the Mel and Martell and Mel as a friend or, having slick conversations behind people's backs about, their personal things. Like, move away from that and get into what is really going on in your lives. Bring us into your home, bring us into your business. I realize that she deals with children, but like, bring us into that space and get away from the gossiping nucleus kind of thing, right? Kimmie, I don't really have a spot for Kimmie. I'm just being honest. She's got this prop over there as her husband. It's cringy to see them on the screen. Definitely don't want to hear about her libido anymore, you know? I remember kind of like in the beginning of the episodes, like if he said jump, I remember them packing to get ready to go. It may have been to their wedding or it may have been to the honeymoon. And he said basically that he wanted to have horizontal poking action. And she was like, right now? It's like, yeah. And she jumped like, oh, I got you, you know? Um, So definitely kind of don't want to see that. I don't really know what her role is because Tisha could. I mean, she played Kimmie in this episode, so she can play her out. It seems like like Tisha and Mel is in a much better place. Tisha didn't get defensive when Mel was like, listen, we getting ready to have an issue. I need you to stand down. It's not going to end well. She was like, "Oop, okay." Like, she understood that. So I can see that they have made some progress. Um, in their relationship, and things have kind of shifted. The beefs have kind of shifted because, again, Melody is always kind of defending her position or defending her stance, or it's always something kind of going on there. So But what would Tisha's life be like? The stay-at-home mom thing is, it's kind of boring. We wouldn't believe anything going on with her and Marcel other than what's really, really happening there. Get back into trying to figure your way out in the business aspect and, you know, um, glean from Mel more for real. As a leader, as a person who doesn't, that you don't have to compete with, as a person who, when you don't get what you want or get, the response that you want, doesn't have to attack her. Y'all work it out and have the conversations that you need and kind of build there. Even, I wouldn't say apprenticeship, but I mean something. I'm not really interested in seeing her play at home with her kids. I'm just not. I think that that would be boring. So does she stay or go? I don't know. But Tisha, I don't know if her and Stormy are still cool. I think her and Stormy could get back cool should Stormy decide to stay on the show. Um, Destiny and their stuff, dealing with Destiny's dating life. Destiny mentioned that she's got somebody that's fine and she done moved on. And girl, we ain't seen him. You getting ready to do the same exact, repeat the same exact mistake. So let's flush that out so that some healthier, decisions can be made about that, because she gonna find herself in the same position that she was over there with Moses, I think. But let us in on it. And if you can't let us in on it, um, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that you have to put your relationship on blast or even let everybody meet the guy or whatever, but the experiences of it all, I don't know. Or maybe she needs to go. I don't know. Her friendship with Martell and him dealing with his stuff, and he does kind of listen to her, and she mentioned that, they are still friends because she's probably the only one that he hasn't slept with. There could be something there. My point is just kind of leave that lady alone and build your own piece. Like I said, I liked Shanita on there. Even as a friend, she can join them for dinners or parties or something. Mel can't really have her kids on the show, but she's running her businesses. She has some rich friendships. I'm sure she has some, funny stories about dating, or, just there is more experience, that Mel, that we can get. Basically, she can have more storylines than what she got going on right now. Even with her being a former school teacher, um, maybe mentoring, not really so much as the public speaking thing, but like mentoring someone, or having, a, I don't know, like not a teenager, but a young single mother, or young single mothers, or, you know, um, something maybe in that space. Excuse me, would be a good storyline for Mel, I think, because Melody is funny, she's entertaining, she's got a lot going on that I think that more can be flushed out there. So that was her. Nell, we talked about Nell. Really don't have much for Tisha, but they got to give something other than talking about what's happening between Mel and Martell, or what's happening between Mel and someone else. Or let me give you privy to this conversation because I had this conversation with her, like take having the conversation and running it back. Like that is the entire setup of this show. And it's not really going well. So you got to move away from the toxicity pieces of it. You just have to. And get into more of what's really happening in these people's lives in an ensemble cast kind of way. and not everyone coming for this woman. The men, they just need to go. Other than some, they have a party or they have an event or somebody hosts a dinner and the men come and we get a little bit of the men time. Like, I think it's enough going on with the ladies and, enough marriages and, what happens after marriage if the marriage doesn't work to give you a kind of love and marriage situation. So that would be the transformation that I would make. Um, that would be the transformation that I would make. I would think. I don't think it needs to be canceled. Like I said, I think that there's enough to, you know, um, glean from if people are going to really, really be transparent and really work through some of their issues. You know, give us more of the fun going out for dinner, celebrating birthdays, or celebrating events or whatever, getting together for kids kind of stuff and having that time. Women are so funny when we get us a couple drinks and get to talking, just talking about life and the way this dude is getting on my nerves or what's happening over here or you know what I mean? Like, let's just move away from the gossiping and attacking this one person because that whole switch up and going down the road of respectful cheating and all of that, I don't know if that was scripted or not, but it made absolutely no sense. And it definitely gave more just toxicity and attacking and trying to embarrass this woman. And she really hasn't had a moment to breathe. It is always something. And Melody is coming out of this marriage with this person where I'm sure she was always defending herself, or defending her position, or trying to assert her position, or, defending her marriage. I have not seen her have a breather from that moment. She has to take it by force. And it, that shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be that way. So, um, and again, when we talk about threshold and being in that space where something has got to give, something has got to move, what does that look like? It's definitely given y'all need to revamp something and get away from this mess. And but how did you guys watch this last episode? Were you like Stormy when Stormy was like, anybody want a drink or a shot or like was that you? Or I know you. Or were you Bishwet? That was the look of what's that lady name? Lauren. Mel's friend Lauren. That was her look. And Destiny stood 10 toes down so much as she even got upset about Melody not owning that. Like that was so crazy. I don't know if I have covered everything. And I definitely went around the mulberry bush, honey. Um I gotta get better with my notes and stuff like that. So but I said all that to say, I think it could stick around. I could watch more of it. Give us more of some individual stories and some real stuff, and less of this gossiping about this one single person. Something, child. This sure is not coming out as fun as I thought it was gonna be, but I've been away. I haven't been on this channel for a minute, and I'm still trying to find my balance. So I'm undecided if I'm going to actually publish this. I'm going to go back and listen to it and see how it sounds, and then we'll go from there. But I appreciate all the listeners, and any feedback that you give me. I do appreciate it. And I'm going to keep at it. So, love and marriage, Huntsville, child. Give us something else, Carlos. It was a good episode, but, child, you can't come back with this same formula. You're going to have to do something else. This can't go into next season. I know that in the trailer, Martell, they're gonna get with Martell. Like, was I the only one that's shocked that it's gonna be more? It's like another mid season break. Anyway, I hadn't got that far, but that's my thought. Um, Crabs in the barrel. It is a thing, and we definitely need to move away from it. And it can't stay like this. So it's your girl Duchess, and I'm out.